Welcome to Energy Stew. This is Peter Roth, your host. And I'd like to ask you, how well are you communicating with your pets or even any animals you run across? Don't they have a lot to say? Don't you have a lot to say? Maybe you could even say more, and maybe they could say more if they could actually talk with you. I know they have good sign language and they can understand. They hear a lot of words and they understand them, but you can get even deeper. And we're going to be talking with a man who gets deeper, has that opportunity to talk with animals in ways that are so remarkable and helpful to all of us. Nick Musica. Nick, welcome to Energy Stew. I'm so glad that you could tell us about your animal journeys.
Thank you, Peter. So hoot to be here already.
Oh, good. So, um, how did it all start?
Yeah, I mean this part of um we'll say my relationship with the world, specifically the animals, started a couple of years ago when my wife and I went to a psychic fair in Carlsbad, where we live in California. And we walked the show floor. We didn't really see anyone we liked, and then we approached the show floor from the opposite direction, and right in front of us was this sign that said Medium Adelita, Psychic Medium. And I've been to psychics before, but I've never been to a medium. I just didn't It wasn't a thing for me. I just really, to be honest, just really didn't believe it. And for some reason, I thought, well, I think this woman will be good for my wife, whose mother passed about 2 months prior. And I said, hey, Jewel, what do you think of Adelita over there? And my wife said, that sounds great, but why don't you go first? Okay. So I figured I'd sit down for 15 minutes, be supportive husband, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what Julieta has to say about her reading, right? But when I sit down, Adelita draws this heart and she says, this is either a former romantic relationship or it's an animal. And she circles animal. And she says, the message is you did too much. Now she's talking, it's emotional to relive the experience a bit. She, she brought through Henry, my cat Henry. It was all white cat, little pink paws, little pink nose. And he lived to be 22. The last 2 years of his life were going back and forth to the vet to try to solve any of the problems with old age. Right? We're looking at the food, blood work, whatever it was. So you did too much was a perfect summary. And then she continues as I'm adjusting to the reality of having a conversation with my dead cat. And she goes, my guides are now showing me Dr. Doolittle. They're showing me that you can talk to animals and it's going to be easy for you. And I thought I never heard anything more truthful in my life and I couldn't tell you why. No idea. So yeah, right. And so I go home and I do my typical meditation that I've been doing. And I figure, well, if it's going to be easy, I'm just gonna find my cat Chucky, my living cat Chucky. And so I do my little meditation and I find Chucky, or so I think I do. And what I see immediately is this big bright light. And it's the type of light you would associate with like spirit guides or angels or some higher level being. And my first reaction is absolutely not. You know, my cat poops in a box and sometimes on the floor. He is not a high level being. It's not what's happening here. This is a mistake. This is my imagination. So I call her up and I go, easy, like this isn't even working. Never mind easy. And she goes, well, you know what? You're expecting information to show up in a very specific way. And that is not how this works. You just get to be the open channel. You get the information. What you get is what you get. Okay. So I decided to give it a second shot, and I get animal communication books, and I get a couple sessions with people who actually do this for a living. I'm trying to figure out what does it look like? How do you do it? I have no clue. I have no clue. And as I'm about to go on to a Zoom meeting, very much like this, how we're talking, I get it from my dining room table, and I get this quick flash. Uh, it's one of the scenes out of Return of the Jedi, and I'm seeing the ghosts of Obi-Wan and Yoda, and it's coming from Chucky, my living cat. And
How did you know it
and
was coming from Chucky?
I just did. You just know what's happening.
Okay.
And right, it's just
Yeah, I
truthful.
get it. Knowing is knowing.
No, and yeah, and it just lands very truthfully. Like
Right,
it's
right,
just what it is, right?
right. Exactly.
And I also realize that what he's showing me, this student teacher relationship, he's the teacher in the scenario and I'm the student, right? And I'm like, what is going on here? So I get on the line with this animal communicator and she validates, who I am and why we're here to talk about Chucky. And she goes, do you know who he is to you? And yeah, he just showed me. And so now we're talking for the next 30 minutes about how he came here. He took me on as an assignment to help open me up. And he really is a little teacher. He's a little furry teacher who, yes, poops in a box, but man, he's a little professor walking around.
Well, that's a start. That's a great start because you don't
Yeah,
know that you can talk to anybody, any other animal, right?
that's right. That's right. So a lot of it was showing up for me in the beginning of adjusting to this new reality, like a dolphin in Mexico, the horses I used to work with. I volunteered at a sanctuary for about 9 months. Random dog at Home Depot, like just things would start to show up randomly. And then and then a buddy of mine was like, "Would you think you can do this for other people?" And I said, "I have no idea, no clue." So I went on to Nextdoor, which is sort of like Facebook, but it's your immediate proximity. It's an app, it's a website, and it has people in your immediate proximity. You can communicate with people,
Right. I have that on my computer. Yeah.
right? Where you are. And I was like, well, let's give it a shot. I really have no idea. So let's see if I can do it for strangers. So I went on there and I said, hi, my name is Nick Musica. I'm an animal communicator. That means I psychically talk to animals. Click here for free 15 minutes. Let's see what happens. And I'm using a Google Doc to capture the information, which is, you can see it in the browser on the computer. So I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting. And I'm also seeing this conversation happening after my post. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like people are coming in, and it's really one of two perspectives. People are coming in going, are you kidding me? What is this garbage? And other people go, no, 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 it's real. We should, this is awesome. You should totally do it. Right. And so I'm seeing this dichotomy, this back and forth, this black and white conversation going, which you see a lot out in the world these days with politics and all the things. But I never started the conversation. And now I started the conversation not knowing. And so I'm looking at the spreadsheet and I'm seeing this conversation. And then the first row fills up in the spreadsheet and I can feel the woman come through. I feel the intention of wanting to connect. And I think, absolutely, this is going to work. So I ended up talking to her animal like on a Wednesday, and then I debrief with her on a Friday. It's a two-parter for me. I'll talk to the animal separately and then the human. And at the end of the conversation, she goes, so my former animal communicator passed, and me and my friends are looking for a new one. Would you be okay if I sent you referrals? No, I don't mind at all. That'd be great. Appreciate it. Right. So out of the gate, it was like, it worked. Great. So validation. Can I do it? Yes or no? Right. That's what I was really looking forward to.
I think it's a
And
very fertile market because so many people, I mean, in New York City here, everybody's got a pet and
yeah,
they need
yeah,
information.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they're a hoot. The things they have to say. And so my typical, if I can call it this, like my typical format of how things show up and what the reading is, people typically come to me for like a 3D problem. My dog is doing this, my cat is doing that. Can you help me understand why my dog won't pee at night? Why my dog is biting people? Something like that.
Right.
And quickly it turns into like this little dog showed up, a little Chihuahua. This woman came to me because her Chihuahua was biting people. She didn't want people to come over to her house.
Right.
People would walk in and the dog's like diving at the ankles, biting the people, right? And she goes, can you talk to my dog? Can you tell the dog to stop biting people? It's not really how it works, but I don't tell anyone to do anything, but I will certainly have the conversation. I'll ask the questions. That's my promise. I promise to ask the questions. And then if they answer the questions, I promise to tell you what they said. Sometimes they don't want to answer the questions. They have their own thing on their mind, but whatever. So I tune into this little Chihuahua and the dog says, you need to ask her about her job. I said, well, why am I asking her about her job? Because that's what has to change. Okay. So I get this young lady on the line on Zoom and she shows up and immediately you go, oh man, like this is going to go off like a fart in church, right? Like this is not a happy person on the other end of this connection. She's just not. And she says, did you talk to my dog? Mm-hmm. Did you tell him to stop biting people? Mm-mm. Well, what'd you talk about? What do you do for a living? I'm unemployed. You're not unemployed. How do you make money? I'm a private driver, Ubers and limousines, that type of thing. I said, how's that working out for you? And she goes, well, I have spinal issues. About an hour or two driving around, my back is all banged up. My doctor tells me that I shouldn't even be driving. And so I tell her what the dog has to say, right? And as we're chatting about what her dog had to say about the job is the thing that has to change, I get this quick flash of roses. I go, what do you do with roses? And she says, well, I paint vases. I paint roses on vases, flower vases, then I give them away to people. Oh, well, that's interesting. Now, let's take a look at the two pieces of information that the animal has brought up so far. One, your job, which physically causes you pain, makes you angry, makes you unhappy, and brings your energy down. And then there's this other aspect of painting roses on vases, and your energy goes up, right? These things are being shown in contrast. One is not good for you, and one is brings you closer to what how your expression should be. So that was the conversation with her, and the lesson really here is for all of us is our animals can be a source of mirroring or modeling behavior. In this case, the dog was a mirroring behavior, showing the the lack of satisfaction, showing the anger
It was
that
a
this woman
symbol,
carried.
sure. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Super
So
cool.
how so then did she quit her driving and paint roses for a living or why?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I just don't know. But my feeling coming out of the conversation was like, I that probably didn't land well, right? And then the next week, I get someone coming through, and I ask people like, "How'd you hear about me?" And she mentions a person's name, and I go, "That name sounds familiar. Who was that? Who was that person?" And I look up the person, and it was the woman who had the Chihuahua. So she told someone.
Yeah.
And I don't know how she framed it. I don't know how she felt about it, but someone thought, I'm gonna go talk to this guy too. So it's fun how that happened.
Well, what's interesting is that it's a real learning curve for you
Mm,
how to use your talent because you're not only dealing with animals, you're dealing with their owners, and it's usually about the owners the animals
yes,
want you to know about.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. And so when I heard you'll talk to animals and it'll be easy, and I was like, absolutely, yes. I don't know why, but yes, I had no idea what it would look like, what information I would get for what reason. Like I just thought this is going to be a thing. And then when the information started to come, I thought, if I had given this any thought about what would come, I would have imagined it would be more about the animal. But and I do get some of that, but most of it is about the human.
But that's what pets are here for.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And so the difference is that's what comes with the pets, right? That service to the human information comes from pets.
Right.
When it's animals out in the wild, and this is the commonality between all the animals, all the things that you can talk to is it's from their perspective. So the pets is from their perspective about the human. The wild animals out there is from their perspective as a wild animal.
So how does
It's
that,
not about humans.
so what experience have you had in the wild?
So there's been a couple. Some of the more memorable ones are, and this is sort of ish in the wild, sort of ish. And then I have one that's completely in the wild. One is so we went to Mexico, and this was after COVID. We didn't go anywhere, and so we go to Mexico. We go to Cabo, and we're doing all the touristy things. We're like little kids in candy shop, doing all the touristy things. And there's an opportunity to go swim with dolphin, but it's like SeaWorld, right? It's in a big pool, and I never like seeing animals in cages. Go to pet store and then you have cats and dogs. Like I never like that. It's for a purpose. I get it, the transition, but it never felt good to me. And so to swim with dolphins in how I feel is a cage didn't feel good to me. My relationship with dolphins is the ocean. It's seeing them swim wild in the ocean. That's my perception of the dolphins. That's my relationship. So to do this didn't necessarily feel 100% good, but we do it anyway. And there's an instance where we are on this little ledge that comes out of the deeper pool with the dolphin and everyone else in our group, including the trainer. And Liz the dolphin is being bribed to stay on this little ledge by the trainer, just feeding her fish. And there's one, two, three people on either side of her. One, two, three here, one, two, three there. And I'm on the right hand side of her by her tail. And I thought, well, let me give it a shot. Let me just see if she's game to play to talk. And so I tune into Liz and I find her, and you get this little energetic push, which is the connection. And then it's followed by this overwhelming feeling of sad. And I think to myself, of course, because you live in a cage, which is my narrative. It's not her story, it's my narrative. And I recognize that this is my story, it's my own feelings, and so I exit that and tune back in. And I go, well, why are you sad? Like what's going on here? And the only thing I hear is family. Okay. And so afterwards, I tell my wife, I said, I really got to validate something. And so I go to the trainers and I said, we had such a great time with Liz. Um, I'd love to just understand more about her. Does she have mother, father, siblings? What is it? And they said, well, dad is off the planet. He's not alive anymore. And I'll say, and I thought to myself, that doesn't feel like it. Well, what about mom and siblings? And they go, oh, she has a mother and she has a sister. I said, where are they? And they start to point at this pool that's adjacent to the one that she lives in. It's separated by a 4 foot concrete wall. And they said, well, mom and the sibling have been living in that pool for the past 3 years. Well, why is that? Well, because when mom had the other baby, Liz still wanted attention from mom and she was causing problems with nursing. So we separated the mom and the sibling from Liz.
Hmm.
How old is Liz? Well, Liz is 5. So this is going on for 3 years. So, so since she was 2, her mother and sibling has essentially been living next door and she can't see them. She knows they're there,
There were no
but she can't.
visits.
Apparently, I mean, I don't know the details of that, but it makes sense to me that
They
the
couldn't be
feeling
living. Yeah, they're not living together.
the
Wow.
feeling of family and sad, right?
Right.
Like it's harder if they're right next door and you can't get to them. There was no sad feeling about her dad. Dad's gone. That's what happened. But right next door,
Wow.
they're so available and also not at the same
So
time.
did they do anything about it?
They didn't. I didn't feel that if I had volunteered that information, which I didn't, that I would have changed the situation any.
Wow. So sad. That, every aquarium needs an animal communicator.
I vote yes. Yeah.
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 It's amazing
Mm.
that they even can exist without that because they make decisions that really
Yeah.
are very unhappy for the animals.
That's right. I mean, it'd be like walking around making decisions for everyone, every human being, and you didn't talk to them, you didn't find out what their preferences were, you didn't understand their social network, you didn't, right? Like you just,
Yeah.
hey Peter, here's what you're gonna do today. Well, maybe it'd be helpful if you asked me, Nick, right? Like I would appreciate if you asked me.
So this goes on. Actually, the animal world is is limited by human intelligence or lack of, intuitive
Absolutely. Well, and I would expand it to more than the animal world, right? It's any, and we don't think about, largely we don't think about it this way. Humans do not think about it this way, that every little thing on the planet has a right to be here. Every little thing on the planet with
intelligence.
um, a life force has something to say about their existence.
Divine
Has
order.
right has a feeling of what is going on.
Sure.
And from my experience, having known more than one person and having talked to more than one animal in this context, or more than one being, we'll go with that the clarity and the straight shooting ability of communication is way more favor of the non-humans than the humans. They don't, the non-humans that I've talked to, including the animals, there is no agenda. It's just straight information in service of. Where with humans, you sort of have to figure out what's on their mind. Like, what is your agenda? What are you trying to get out of this? I don't understand.
Well, I think this is why we need to have a more advanced society and a higher consciousness, because it's been shown that when we move into a higher consciousness, we'll all be much more intuitive, telepathic, transparent with each other. And we'll have to start living differently because we will know better with everybody, because they'll know better about us too. They'll get to read our minds, read what's going on with us. And so you can't have as many hidden agendas.
Mm,
You
yeah,
know, it's got to
yeah,
be honest. And that'll be very interesting to see how humanity adjusts to this place that we can read each other better.
yeah.
But
It's
animals, the animal world is so sophisticated in that way.
100% advanced. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe never got away from this to begin with, right? Like we have chosen not to communicate like this. We've chosen to walk a different
I
path.
don't know that we have other, I think that humans were manipulated, our brains and our DNA were manipulated thousands of years ago for us to have these limitations for some dark reason. And
Mm,
we're finally growing back to where we should have been, and maybe where we
okay.
started before our genes were manipulated. Uh, because the promise of humanity is huge,
Mm,
but we have been so inhumane for thousands of years now,
yes.
and that doesn't make sense. Animals have their own emotional needs, and they're predators, and all kinds of issues in the animal world that make life difficult for them. But they're born to live in that world and accept it, and they know how to work with it, and we impose all of our fears and feelings on animals
Yes.
about how they relate to their injuries and even their unhappiness, that they might be unhappy but not in the same ways that our ego drives us, and so we have to learn to to live in this world. For instance, I think, like, when we're in terrible physical trauma, uh, we have, and the animals have, the ability to go out of body. I think animals do
Mm,
that all the time. We think animals are being harmed by predators. Yes, they are, but they're probably watching it from the other side,
yeah,
and
that's right.
so they're not as harmed as we think they are, because we don't know that we are unlimited also. And a lot of people, of course, it's much more common now that people have had out of body experiences, near death experiences, etc., and know what we're capable of. But we need to be masters of all of that, and learn how to use those abilities like the animal world generally knows.
Yeah. I mean, it would be very helpful if we were just minimally open to exploring it. I mean, mastership, sure, it's never going to get there unless we're all willing to explore it.
But we will be, as consciousness changes, we will be forced, because it'll be facing us. It'll be staring at us. We'll be transparent, and you say, "Oh, I don't want to be so transparent." Well, guess what? You are.
Mm.
Now you are. And it's just like what happened with you and animals. They became transparent with you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great way to phrase it.
Yeah. And so it's a fascinating life when you can explore the animal world the consciousness of the animal world as you're doing, and they're not only is your own pet cat a teacher, but I think all animals are ready to teach us.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that is the constant theme every time I talk to one in service of a human is here's what I want them to know. Here's what I think would be good for them to know. Every time.
From a very wise place.
Absolutely. From a very informed, wise, discerning place.
But
Yeah.
humans can't even imagine how animals, how expanded their consciousness is, and how wise they are, and how much they know that we don't think they know.
Because of our own
Yeah,
limitations,
exactly.
of how we tend to experience the world. And then when you go, well, if this is our experience, then something way less must be theirs.
Right. And so they have their own Yodas.
Yeah, it's true.
And so it's wonderful to find out. We're really getting to the end of the show. How can people connect with you?
Yeah, yeah, thanks. You can go to mycatschooledme.com. That's the website.
Wow, that's
Uh,
cool.
and you can find me on Instagram. That is the handle for Instagram. My cat schooled me. YouTube is starting to go. My cat schooled me on YouTube. Yeah, but and there's links on mycatschooledme.com to those social
And
media
your
networks.
email address is available through those.
You can contact me through. Yeah, you can contact me through that website. You can schedule a reading there. It's
Oh,
all
good.
it's one
Wow.
stop shop. Yeah, yeah.
All right. I'm glad that you're covering that. So wonderful to talk with you, and
Same.
we can explore. I would love to hear so much more about your adventures in animal communication.
I've enjoyed our chat. Thank you, Peter.
Sure. And this is Peter Roth, your host of Energy Stew at prn.live. I can be reached at peter at heartriver, HEART river.org. I'd love to hear from you, and thanks so much for listening.